Hi everyone, I apologise for lack of videos recently, but my laptop broke. I've only just been able to get a new one, so I'm going to start making some again. This game is for another 4-0 game, which was Gloucestershire Gambits versus 3Cs 2. It was very heavily outgraded. In fact, the game I'm showing is Phil Dodwell versus Andrew Horton. Andrew Horton was the 3Cs player, and he's graded 1746, and his opponent was 1962. His opponent went e4, and he responded with the perk defense, which is like the King's Indian of e4, where black's aiming to fianchetto the bishop on g7, and it's very hyper modern. Like, black usually don't fight for the centre for a long time, but you can get good dynamic chances. It's quite a good opening. And his opponent responded with the main line d4. Then came, usually you play knight f6, but Andy went g6. And now his opponent went g3, which is also a fianchetto win, which you can get some like very sharp variations like f4, which is known as the Austrian attack, and that's probably the sharpest way to play against a perk. But g3 is less ambitious but more positional. Now came bishop g7, bishop g2, knight d7, knight e2. So it's looking like a bit of a King's Indian attack here. And now e5, putting some pressure like King's Indian style on white's big pawn centre. Also possible is to fight back. You can fight back with c5 as well. Castles. Knight e7. I think white's played this a bit passively. I think black can already say he's equalised here. Knight bc3. Castles. Bishop e3. And now f5. So as you can tell, it is a bit like a King's Indian this, but obviously against e4 instead of d4. Where black's aiming for a kingside attack where he's got a lot of space, and white should be aiming for a queenside attack here. Now came f4. F takes e4. And now here, could white have maybe played d takes e5? Let's have a look. D takes e5. D takes e5. Bishop takes e4. Knight f5. If takes, rook takes f5. And the position is roughly equal, I'd say. Anyway, back to the game. Knight takes e4 was played instead. Now came h6, which is stopping the knight coming into g5, because if a knight had come into g5, then his friends come into e6 with a fork and all sorts of nasties. But it didn't really have to be stopped, but h6 is a good move. Now came queen d2, which is taking advantage of the weakness just created by the pawn push to h6, because now white's threatening to take and then play bishop takes h6. So d5, strong central push which attacks the knight. And here what's being given is to actually, but here what seems very strong actually is to take on e5 anyway, even though the knight is attacked. In fact, this was quite strong. So after accepting it, take on h6, knight f5, bishop g5, and now if queen e8, then bishop takes e4, and white has got 3 pawns for the piece with a very good position. So best here is to throw in e3. So obviously if bishop takes d8, you just take the queen on e2. White would take. But white's got 3 pawns for the piece still, but the position in as cushion as it would have been if the queen had moved. And white's better here. Good attacking chances. Back to the game. So that's a good opportunity that white missed. But knight 4 c3 and now e4, which blocks in white's light squared bishop for good practically, and gives black a good position. Now here comes some rerouting with knight d1, so knight maybe wants to come to f2, then to g4, then to e5, but it's a long way from there yet. And here black actually could have got a good advantage here with knight b6, 6, according to Houdini. b3, which stops the knight coming into c4 or a4, which would be very strong, but now bishop g4. Another strong developing move. Now let's say white plays something like a4, knight f5, and black's better here. So knight f6 instead, which is also good and should give black an advantage. King h1, just like a preparatory king move. Bishop e6, I think this move's a little bit maybe. Plus the bishop behind the pawn. Maybe bishop g4 is more active. Or something like queen d6 or rook e8. Let's have a look at rook e8. h3. Knight f5. Rook e1. It's like c6 and black's better. But bishop e6 is fine as well. b3. Put her into maybe blast the position open with c4. But obviously you can't do yet. So you might have to play rook c1 and prepare it. Queen d7. So black obviously wants to trade the e6 bishop for the g2 bishop, which would weaken white's king drastically. Knight f2. Which prevents bishop h3. Knight g4, aiming to get rid of that knight. Takes, bishop takes, and rook fe1. Maybe white should have kept the rook on the f file and put the other rook on e1, because the rook on f1 could let you support an f5 push. Now black solidifies a d5 point with c6, and now rook a c1. So white clearly wants to play c4. And now it's not given here, but could black maybe play b5 to clamp down on it? Let's have a look. b5. Don't seem to be anything wrong with it. It's given here that white can play c4 anyway. Oh yes, because after takes then the e4 drops, so that's why. So b5 actually doesn't stop c4, although the move's fine in itself. Rook ac8. But here white plays c3. I mean, seems very bizarre that putting the pawn on c3. I mean, it strengthens d4, but it's very passive, and black's probably now got a significant advantage in my opinion. In fact, bishop h3 is given us quite strong here. Takes, queen takes, knight g1 evicting the queen, queen g4, strong square for the queen, and now c4. And black has at least a small advantage here, more active position, and white's king's pretty loose. Like knight can come to f5 at some point, put some pressure, and then maybe a h5 h4 push. White's in trouble. But now black gets on with some hacking with h5, playing h5 h4, knight g1, and white's definitely on the defensive here. Rook c, no, bishop e6, moving the bishop back, wasting move I suppose. It's rook c2, not sure all that's about. King f7, I presume he's getting the king away from the action. f5, f5 a pawn sack, and a very dubious one since the evaluation to black's nearly -2 now. I mean, sure this sack doesn't really do anything. I mean, he probably wants to try and maybe create a dangerous pin on the f file, but that doesn't really do anything. It's very pointless. Instead, maybe should have played c4. Now there's h4. Takes. Knight f5. Bishop f2. King back to g8. And black's got good compensation for the sacrificed pawn. But now here comes f5, which does practically nothing. And black can actually take if any of the three pieces on it and still have significant advantage, although g takes isn't very good. But bishop takes and knight takes are fine, and in the game black chose to take with the knight. And now the f4 square has been cleared, so bishop f4. King back to g8 to get nothing like dangerous f-file pressure. I mean, black's clearly pawn up here with a better position. Knight e2. I mean, Andy must be delighted with his position here against someone over 200 points higher, with black pieces as well. King h7. Queen c1, another rather wasted move. Knight h6. Knight g1. I mean, white's putting all his pieces based on the back rank, but now knight h3 to g5 might be coming up. Like, not well, I suppose the h3 square is covered now, but potentially it could. Knight f7. Bishop f1. Another piece goes on the back rank. Queen e7. Bringing the queen to a more active square. h3. Now h4. And now white makes a pretty bad move here and actually takes an h4, opening his king up really badly. I mean, white really needs to open some lines up. Maybe best was to swing the rook over, because then c2 is doing nothing. Swing it over to g2. And now black should maybe play rook c8. Bishop e2. And then maybe put some play on the queen side with b6, preparing c5. And black's better here, an upper pawn. Takes, queen takes, queen e3, bishop h6, which pins the bishop. Although now white does have the move bishop g3, which is strong, well, it's not a strong move, but it's a good move. Let's see what happens if he takes. But maybe he could play bishop takes e3, bishop takes h4. Because the rule is that when you want material like black's up a pawn here, you should try and trade pieces off. So then you can get rid of white's like attacking chances white might have, and then you can just safely try for winning the pawn up endgame. But in fact, white's got no compensation here, so maybe he could have took the queens off. But looks like he fancies his chances in the middle game here. So he goes back to e7, which is also good. Queen e2. Knight g5. So it's very dangerous pressure now. Bishop g2. Queen back to d7. So now there's 3 pieces aimed at h3. So king h2 is the only defense. Bishop g8. h4. White's getting pretty desperate now. Knight e6. Now h5, so white's finally getting some attack, trying to get some attack going, but there's nothing really here. There's loads of pieces around black's king, and white's king is just as exposed. Now in the game, black played g5, keeping lines close, but also blocking the a6 bishop. A good move here would actually have been knight f4, attacking the queen and bishop. White could throw in the Zug takes, king takes, and the queen should move, or bishop takes f4, bishop takes f4 check, king h1, and now queen h7 check, knight h3, bishop e6, and despite black's king being on g6, nothing can be done. But wait a minute, in this position, in fact, so let's go back. Mess them up there. Queen h7 check is not correct. A better move is bishop e6. And then white's best is to give a piece up for 2 pawns, so bishop takes e4 check, and then black should win with his material advantage. When the game g5 was played, which is a safer option. Don't give black quite as good an advantage, but it's a safe option. And black's still significantly better. In fact, we'll leave it here for now, because this video is going to have to be done in 2 parts. And in fact, this game was the last one to finish, and so far we'd had like loads of draws and 1 defeat. So if Andy wins, then we actually get a draw against a team where their worst player was better than our best. How can you do it? Watch part 2 to find out. Bye for now.